Well, I started this video one time, and this is Betty Shan, and I want to say hello to my friends and everybody out there. I hope you've had a blessed day. You know, I was sitting out in my yard today, and if you haven't had a blessed day, if you've had a rough day, maybe I can say something to bring back some memories and put a smile on your face. But you know, I was sitting out in my backyard today, or the other day, it's been a day or two ago, and I got to thinking about my mom and daddy's galvanized tubs. Now, I know I took you with me on a trip to Oklahoma where we got our baths in a galvanized tub, but these tubs were my mother and daddy's tubs, and they're out there hanging on my storage room. And really, I got to studying about it and thought, well, I hadn't seen them tubs in a while. I wonder if they're still out there. And I went and walked around the edge of my storage room, and there hung them tubs. But not just was they hanging there, but many and many a memory was hanging there also. And I just sat down on my back porch and got to studying about the galvanized tubs. We have used those galvanized tubs for things. I mean, we have done all kinds of things in them galvanized tubs. I remember that we used to have uh, some frogs, and we put them frogs in them galvanized tubs and put a screen over the top of them so they couldn't get out, and we raised some frogs in it for a few days. And then I've had turtles in them, I've had rabbits in them, I've had chickens in them, I've had dogs in them. And I love the galvanized tubs because they couldn't get away from me that way. And I'll never forget, we used to, Daddy would fill that tub, those galvanized tubs up with water of a morning, and at late of the evening, that heat from the sun would heat up the water in them old galvanized tubs. And then we'd play in the water in the afternoon. Now, you talk about a cramped quarters, it was cramped quarters, but we still played in them galvanized tubs because we wasn't fortunate enough to have a swimming pool or them go buy us a little pool to play in, but we played in them galvanized tubs. And when my children come on, I remember him going out and filling the tubs up with water for the girls. And when the evening sun would start going down, it wasn't so hot out there, he'd take them out there and let them play in them galvanized tubs in that warm water that heated up through the day. And you know, I remember Daddy used to go fishing, and when he'd go fishing, he'd catch these fish, and he'd come in tired, and he wouldn't want to clean his fish right then, so he'd put them fish in that galvanized tub and put water on them, and I got to play with the fish while they was alive out there swimming in them tubs of water. I had fun playing with the fish. And I remember one time he brought home some mud puppies. Have you ever seen a mud puppy? Them are the ugliest, weirdest looking things I believe I ever seen. Matter of fact, I was scared of them. I didn't particularly like them, but I liked to watch them with their little feet walking around in the bottom of them tub. Daddy used them for bait to catch fish with. And anyway, we had mud puppies even. And there's a lot of adventures took place around the old galvanized tubs. I'll never forget, we used to put our little dolls in it and make beds in it for our little dolls. And then I'd go out the old chicken coop and catch me a couple of little bitty chickens and put them in there and play with the chickens. And just so many things went on in them galvanized tubs. And I'll never forget, I remember turning that old tub upside down, and I preached a few messages off of that galvanized tub. And anybody that'd stand around listening probably thought that was the craziest kid they ever seen in their life. But I preached, that was my pulpit, and I would platform, and I would get up there and I'd preach, and then I'd all of a sudden become the song leader, and I'd lead the singing, and I would just sing and carry on out there. But then also I remember turning it upside down many a time, and we'd play cowboys and Indians, and I'd beat the drums. But you know, there's a lot of old memories in them old galvanized tubs. And one of my latest memories that I remember was when my daddy retired, and he quit working at the mines, and he bought him a garden spot. And I'll never forget, that fall he raised a bunch of greens. And we had those two big old tubs, and we fill them tubs plumb full of greens, and we'd wash them in one tub and put them in another one, run water on it and wash them again, and wash them 2 or 3 times before we'd even bring them in the house to get the dust and stuff off of them so we could can them greens. And they were so good. Fresh canned greens was delicious. And then a lot of times we'd just fix a great big old pot of greens and have greens and cornbread. You ever had greens and cornbread? Well, if you haven't, you've missed a real blessing when it's real fresh greens. It's not canned, it's just fresh greens. They were so good. But you know, there's just a lot of memories we remember, and you'd be surprised what comes around that will bring up some of these memories that you've kind of laid aside. But they come forward when you get to looking around and see the different things. And I'll never forget so many of our memories, even playing with the neighbor kids. We'd play with them old galvanized tubs. We'd put each other in the tubs and we'd act like we was locking them in the tub and they couldn't get out. You know, there are just so many memories that we cherished, that we found in an old galvanized tub. We didn't have the toys like other kids had, but we could create our own fun, and we had many a blessing and many a good time in them old galvanized tubs. And Daddy, when he would harvest his pecans, he'd pick them pecans up and put them in them galvanized tubs till he could sell them and get rid of them. And you know, there's a lot of memories and a lot of things, but I'll never forget the memories in them old galvanized tubs. You have a blessed day. Keep your chin up, live full of the Lord, and count your many blessings.